That's my story. I was set free by a case of beer. I'm on this long, dark road back to my hotel. I think I walked about 3 miles to find this restaurant. So I am headed back. And, you know, I thought I'd tell you a story while I'm walking. One I think you'll find interesting. You know, most of you know that I've been working with the underground church in Laos and Vietnam before that, since 1999. I've made a number of trips into Laos with my motorcycle and connecting with the underground church and teaching and leaders and encouraging them and doing seminars and for their church and staff, as well as doing underground evangelism, which I do quite often. I can get away with that in real rural areas where there's not many people looking and not many authorities or police, and so I can get away with that. And the way we did it was we just have a big old bonfire and walk through the village, almost the same way I did it years ago when I first started working as a missionary in Africa. Just start going through the village and finding the sick, finding people that need prayer, and praying for them, and watching God heal people and set people free, and then invite them to a meeting at nighttime, and where we just tell them the gospel, share with them who God is, and why He sent His Son, and who His Son is, and just allow the Spirit of God to move. And I do that in a lot of really rural areas, have for years, and especially in Laos. It's illegal to preach the gospel, so you can get, like I said, you can get away with doing it in rural areas. There's not a lot of eyes looking at you. Well, the story I'm about to tell you is, I haven't told a whole lot of people this story. A few of my real close friends certainly know the story and are familiar with the story. But when you hear the story, you'll know why I haven't told a lot of people. But you that are watching this, I trust you. If you've been following me and you know me and know what I preach and teach, you'll understand the story, and you'll get a kick out of it. And it just will show you how good God is and what He can do. And I've told the story a couple times to help folks understand that when they mess up, God can still deliver them and get them out of it. So I was in this village in Laos near the Vietnamese border, up in the north. I'm not going to give you any more information than that for obvious reasons. And having a wonderful, wonderful time. I visiting a lot of churches up in that area and preaching and teaching to them. And we got this one place, and just people were receptive. We go to pray for people in the daytime and visit them and share the love of God with them and invite them to the meeting. And so we had this woman that she was an old woman. I would say she was late 70s, early 80s. My guess, I could even be wrong about that. But she was blinded during the Vietnam War. Bombs and landmines were all dropped. All kinds of crazy stuff was done to prevent the Viet Cong from using Laos as a corridor. They called it the Ho Chi Minh Trail. It wasn't one trail, it was actually hundreds and hundreds of trails. And if you've ever been to Laos, you'll know that the forest is what they call a triple canopy. It is Hold on, I gotta cross the street here. It is a triple canopy. I mean, it is so thick and dark. You could walk for days and never see sunlight. That's how heavy the canopy is. And so we're in this area, and of course I don't know anything about this lady and what happened and why she's blind. But I'm preaching and sharing the gospel, and I always pray for the sick. I always have done that. Anybody who knows my ministry knows that, especially in Africa, we oftentimes pray for the sick before we even give an invitation or an altar call. We just pray for the sick. We want people to see that what we've been saying is true, that God is alive. Well, this woman screams and shouts, and I knew there was a commotion going on. I wasn't sure what was happening. And she God opened her eyes. She'd been blind for years. And so God opened her eyes. And it was just an amazing miracle. People were excited and happy and shouting and rejoicing, and which was, you know, kind of unusual. The Buddhist Lao people are pretty reserved and quiet, but a lot of people knew this woman and were pretty excited for her. Little did I know, she hated Americans because she blamed America for her loss of eyesight and being blind. I think that changed when she found out the preacher who shared with her of the love of God and who prayed for her was an American. She hugged me, I hugged her. We had a great time. That night, lots and lots of people. We had around 800 folks that were there. Lots of people gave their heart to Jesus and received him. It was a glorious night. So I wake up the next morning just thrilled and excited at what God has done. And thinking, okay, give me 1 second here. I've got to get my bearings and find out where my hotel is. I think I go up here this way. I think my battery on my phone is just about dead, and so if I need to, I can pull it out and do a GPS, but I only want to do that if I absolutely needed to. And living on the edge, huh? So I wake up next morning, you know, I'm pumped and excited at what God had done. Look, I know that word's going to spread. I know the next night we're probably going to even have a lot more people. So, well, I'm just rejoicing and laying in my kind of straw mat at the pastor's house in his daughter's room. She wasn't there, obviously, but they allowed me, they put me up there. I hear the voice of the Holy Spirit tell me, you need to leave, you need to go. And you know, the voice of the Holy Spirit is sometimes a real small inward witness. And I listened, and I kind of overrode it. I just thought, no, tonight's going to be great. You know, people are excited. Miracles are happening. And this is going to be a great experience. And people are going to come to Christ. And more people are going to come out. And I just, you know, overrode that witness, and I should have just got on my bike and left, but I didn't. I stayed, and that night came around, and boy, there were about twice as many. The crowd was huge, people excited, and so they're worshiping God, and And my interpreter and pastor introduces me again, and the woman is there. She's testifying about what God had done and what happened to her. And all right, hold on, I gotta cross the street without being run over. And so just so you know, they have 7-Eleven here in Thailand. Rather interesting. Go ahead, go ahead. So I can walk fast. I'll walk faster than these people drive. Hi. So, sorry, I'm still trying to get my bearings. I think I'm going the right way. I thought I saw my hotel, but maybe I was wrong. Yeah, I think it's right over there. So, I am, I'm preaching and, you know, just enjoying myself and praying for the sick. You know, God's touching people's lives and people getting blessed and set free, a few demon manifestations. And I noticed a couple men arrived in the crowd, very well dressed, better dressed than the village people that were attending. And boy, as soon as the meeting kind of broke up, these guys made a beeline for me, and I looked. I could tell the look on the pastor's face. He was scared, and they came over and grabbed me, and they were the police, the secret police. Somebody had notified them that what I was doing. So they decided to come over and catch me, and they caught me. And man, I'm thinking, you know, Ed, you should have left. Now, let this bus go by. You know, they're putting me in handcuffs and they're taking me down the road to where their car's parked, which is a couple miles away because they walked up a village path. I guess they didn't want to alert anybody, and which they would have told me, and I would have skedaddled, obviously. So they put me in a car, and we drive about 20 minutes to the nearest town, and they put me in a police station. A police station is typical third world police station. You know, the pictures of their premier president is hanging on the wall, and just a dingy place, just a real dingy place. And they take me down the hallway and they put me in a cell, which is basically just a concrete room and a small little window that was open. There's no air conditioning, grass mat on the floor, and you know, they're screaming, yelling at me and telling me, you know, that I'm I'm in trouble, and you know. And they spoke a little English, not a whole lot, but I knew I was in trouble. I mean, I knew I was in big trouble, and I knew that, you know, getting caught preaching the gospel in Laos will put you in jail for a few years and maybe even longer. And really, the thing that I was so upset about was that the year that it happened, both my boys were graduating. One son was graduating high school, and one son was graduating college. And I was going to miss their graduations. And on top of the fact that, look, I don't come from a wealthy family, and my wife doesn't come from a wealthy family, and we're not wealthy, you know. I mean, we're rich in the things of God, but I know that hiring an attorney and all the things that you need to do are going to cost money and lots of money, and aren't going to come cheap. And you know, I'm kind of mad at myself. You know, I'm thinking, oh, Edward, you should have left. You should just listen to the Holy Spirit. You should have left. you know, and now this is going to be a big, huge problem. It's going to cause your wife trouble, your kids, all of that, you know. And so I'm trying to sleep, but to be honest with you, as you can imagine, I'm not sleeping well. I mean, I am kind of tossing and turning, and forget the fact it's just a grass mat on a cement floor. It's just that all this stuff is going through my head, and I'm trying to pray. I'm trying to turn things over to the Lord and just trust Him. But boy, you talk about some spiritual warfare going on, and thoughts going in your mind, and all that is just tough, you know. It was a rough night. Well, about 3 in the morning, I heard the lock begin to open quietly, and I thought to myself, what in the world? Who's coming in at 3 in the morning? And I just thought, well, maybe they've contacted somebody there. Somebody's arrived, and because I must be a big old prisoner for them, and they're going to ship me off to the Capitol and make a big deal about it. Well, the door opened quietly, and it was one of my host pastors. And he looked at me, and he told me, be quiet, don't say a word, and to come with him. And he just kind of waved me on to come with him, and so I did. And we went down the hall, we went down to the foyer where the police were, where they brought me in, and one of the policemen was laying on a bench. I mean, snoring loud. Had his arm over his shoulder like this. I mean, he was snoring. Beer bottles all around him. The other police officer had his head on his desk and on his arms, and he was snoring, and, you know, beer bottles all over the place. And then my pastor, who had taken the keys off of the one on the bench, hooks the keys back on his belt, and then we go out the front door quietly. And when we got down the road, he said to me, you need to leave. And I said, yeah, you're right, I need to leave. I said, but what just happened? He said, after they arrested you and took you away, he said, we prayed, and we came up with a plan we believe God gave us on how to get you out of there. I said, what was the plan? They said, well, we took up an offering, and we bought those police a case of beer and sent it to them anonymously, and said, with a note, telling them congratulations on what they had done. Well, they were just celebrating, and we knew they would get so drunk they'd pass out, and as soon as they passed out, we'd come and set you free. And I looked and I laughed, and I said, are you kidding me? He says, no, Pastor Elliott. He says, now you need to go. And I agreed. I packed up my stuff and headed on out. He told me they wouldn't report me escaping because it would make them look bad and they'd lose face. And I said, man, I am so glad I taught you and that you're not religious. I said, I got pastor friends who would have rejected that idea, and I'd still be in jail. They would just say, well, that can't be of God. And they never would have bought a case of beer and sent it to the police. But I'm so glad you guys aren't religious. And that's my story. I was set free by a case of beer. God bless you. I thought you would enjoy this story. Remember, keep it just between you and I. We'll talk later. In case any of you were wondering, I did find my hotel, and I have arrived safely.